that founder should absolutely be obsessed with solving that problem, not a solution looking for a problem.
Welcome to the /podcast, where we lean into the future of IT by inviting fellow thought leaders, innovators, and problem solvers to slash through its complexity. Today, we're talking to Dr. Morris Nguyen. Dr. Morris Nguyen is the founder and CEO of Predicate, an AI healthcare company using predictive technologies that combine patient voice and vital signs to detect early signs of critical illness. Clinically trained in critical care, he bridges medicine, data science, and implementation strategy to make healthcare more proactive and equitable. He has advised ministries of health and global health systems on technology-enabled care delivery, held roles at Edwards Life Sciences and Teleflex, and serves on advisory boards for emerging health tech startups. Dr. Nguyen earned his MD and MBA from the University of Michigan, a Bachelor of Science in Physiology from Michigan State, and completed postgraduate training in health economics at the University of Washington. A Lean Six Sigma black belt, he brings operational rigor to digital health transformation. Thank you, and welcome to the show, Dr. Nguyen.
Thank you, James. Thanks for inviting me as a guest.
I have to ask about, I've never heard of health economics. So you can give me a little, like what even is that?
Well, it's the study of the cost of care, really, in translating the effects of not only the problems in healthcare to a unit economics, but also the treatment strategies, and what are the kind of the ROI between those different treatment strategies as it affects certain healthcare problems.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, that's great. And I noticed we've met before over video, and I don't know if I've asked you about it. You've got like these surfboard looking things behind you. They look like a war. What even is that? What's the surfboard? What's with the surfboards?
So I'm based in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay.
I'm not a surfer. I like to go underneath the water. I'm more of a diver than a surfer.
Okay.
But so both of those surfboards are from the Coastal Entrepreneur Awards in 2024. Predicate received a category, was a category winner for the healthcare category for Coastal Entrepreneur Awards. And then we qualified to be overall, and then we ended up winning the overall Coastal Entrepreneur Award of the year in 2024. The bigger one of the two surfboards behind me is a smaller replica of the full size surfboard. It's interesting. So when you win the Coastal Entrepreneur of the War, can't say it, Coastal Entrepreneur of the Year award, then you have this 5-foot surfboard that sits in your office or your house for a year. It's like the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
For the Cape Fear region for business in the Cape Fear region. And so I have the big surfboard there. Kids Making It is the company locally in Wilmington that hand makes these boards. And so I asked them to make a smaller version. So this year, when I handed off the big surfboard to 2025 winner, I now have something that get to keep. And then the other one, that one, I did kind of a flat Stanley kind of thing with it. I travel internationally quite a bit.
Yeah.
We have studies across 7 countries and 5 continents. So since I won the award in 2024, I started to bring that smaller surfboard with me wherever I travel, and I would take pictures of it.
Nice.
I think I added up from 1 year. It traveled approximately 70,000 miles. That board has from every continent, from one end to the other of the globe, and then at the 2024, this year's Coastal Entrepreneur Award, I showed pictures of where the board has been.
That's
Anyways,
really cool.
long story, but that's what those are.
That's cool. Yeah. The flat Stanley thing.
Yeah.
Well, there was something where some something was making its way. It was like a flat Stanley thing. I don't remember what it was, but I remember like it met its demise pretty quickly when it got to the United States. Like we're just awful people sometimes, you know. And all these other countries were like, "Hey, this is cool." I don't know. It was like a teddy bear. Or, I don't know. But then like when it got to the
Right.
United States, the thing was all tore up, and we ruined it.
Yeah.
Disappointing. All right, so I met you at a an event in North Carolina near Raleigh. I think it was in Durham, North Carolina, and you all were pitching, doing kind of a startup pitch contest kind of a thing, and I was just blown away hearing the pitch. So full transparency. I'm a big fanboy more. You know what I mean? Like I love the story. I love what you guys are doing. So, but I did think, you have a very unique perspective. You're a medical doctor and you're creating a new company from scratch in this technology world. I mean, in using AI no less. So like, that's not an easy thing in and of itself. You just have a really cool perspective, and I thought our audience would enjoy hearing about that. So tell us about how did you go from the medical field to saying, I think I want to take this thing, do some technology stuff with my profession.
Yeah. Thanks for the question, and thanks for that recognition. For me, um, it's the hallmark of every good founder is to be able to first understand the problem that you're solving, and then become obsessed with solving that problem every single day. That's the decision between, do I become an entrepreneur, or do I keep my day job? And for me, and because of my experiences at the bedside, that really shaped the problem that we were trying to solve. And that problem was around, um, as a critical care physician, sepsis patients, or patients condition that we very commonly see. And the challenge with sepsis is that it can start very early, meaning that before they get to the ICU, and the patients that I saw. And but the challenge, that there are very subtle signs that are often missed because they hide behind more common and more benign symptoms. So that started kind of my journey on asking the question, what can we do better in detecting those early signs of sepsis? And then what technologies are currently available to help us, or to enable us to detect those subtle signs? Um, I, Although I went to business school, I never intended to become an entrepreneur. I wanted to practice. That's what I went to school for. That's my passion. It still is my passion. But the problem that was calling out to me was bigger than my current, my current intent, not to be an entrepreneur. It was pulling me and saying that in order to affect change, you have to start a company and pursue this. And many physician entrepreneurs, there are so many um, great clinical innovators out there. We see the problem at the bedside. Oftentimes, we're MacGyvering different things, sometimes off label, but it works. It solves the problem effectively for the patient, and then it also helps enables the provider to do their jobs. So, in order to do this, you have to take a certain path. Um, and before I became where Predicate is today, Predicate AI Labs, before that, it was Predicate Healthcare Performance Group, which I started in 2018 as a healthcare consultancy. It
Okay.
was a group of physicians, uh, mainly critical care physicians and nurses. And we knew that at our respective hospitals, there were a problem around sepsis care, primarily relating to quality benchmarks like sepsis mortality, readmissions, stay, costs. This was a headache keeping hospital administrators up at night. And we wanted to change that by looking first at the different clinical pathways or processes that were causing these problems. And Predicate created this Lean Six Sigma based architecture called Proof, Process and Outcomes Optimization Framework. And through proof, we were able to use evidence-based protocols and technologies to improve those quality benchmarks, saving hospitals millions of dollars annually. And then we were able to replicate that in the US and then globally as well, because every region around the world, sepsis may be kind of the common denominator, common problem shared across different health systems. The way that you approach it is vastly different. So
Oh,
there was a
wow.
learning built in there as well. That evolved into where Predicate is today is we're a full tech company dedicated to building frontier AI models to predict and prevent critical health conditions like sepsis uh, from escalating.
Gotcha. Now, when it comes to, you know, you don't come from the technology world. You come from, you have an MBA and you're a medical doctor. So what has that experience been like? What's, that learning curve now trying to enter into this AI world? How has that experience been for you?
Uh, I don't know if I would be up to speed to keep up with on my dev team if I didn't have AI tools. To be perfectly honest,
Sure.
I sit through um, a Scrum I use an engineering term. Proud of myself with that one.
Well
Or
done. Well
just
done.
yeah, or sit through an engineering, dev meeting. You have daily huddles and things like that, and I'm listening and hearing all these technical terms. Then I would come up with a list, and I would put into an LLM and say, "What does this mean?
Tell me
Explain this
about
to
this.
me,
Yeah.
please."
Well, that's
Yes,
cool.
exactly. Yeah, and it allows me to be able to just be a better leader and be able to not have to uh, just take more time out of engineering's their time is guarded and limited bandwidth as it is uh, to explain to me just foundations of what things are. So in that, and also do a lot of reading on the space and
Okay.
trends and all those kind of things.
Yeah. It's, me being a consultant, kind of this LLM world, it actually kind of hurts me because, now people have that kind of BS detector. You know what I mean? Like I can't BS my way through things anymore. So, I got to figure it out. I got to figure out a way to like let the LLM help me BS better or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's got to be tough. And I mean, even as a technologist, AI is changing so like every week, right? So it's hard as somebody I grew up in this field, and it's hard for me to keep. So I can only imagine coming in from with a completely different, like very very deep expertise in something, trying to like extract yourself out of that to try to dive deep into something that's very cool.
Yeah, but it's also one thing that is great about having such a multidisciplinary team is that um, I think Predicate is really we're a software company first, trying to
Uh-huh.
solve a medical problem. So we have the domain expertise. There
Right.
are currently 3 MDs, including myself, on the leadership team at Predicate. So we have a really good bench for our scientific advisory board. So we have the clinical science, the the medicine we get. We clearly get that. Now it's to bridge that to the technology world and to be able to have 2 different disciplines be able to effectively communicate, articulate the clinical problem that we want to solve, articulate the desired UX, UI that we want, and then be able to translate that to a product architecture for our technologists. That is where, for me, is the joy of being in my role is to see that happen. And while we're doing that, transforming just the space that we're in, which is health tech AI.
So the you're talking about you're detecting, you're using AI to detect and understand, like it's very hard to understand if a patient has sepsis or is starting to come down with this illness or condition. What is it?
Yeah,
What's the proper
condition.
term? Condition.
Yeah.
But you guys have figured out a way using AI, and maybe it seems, from what I know, it seems like kind of it has to be kind of a novel approach, or you wouldn't like create a whole company about it. So tell us a little bit about what is your approach that's different.
I'll start by sharing our tagline.
Okay.
We have two main taglines. One is your voice is a vital sign.
Mm,
And then the second one is your symptoms deserve a voice. And as
I
you can
like
hear
that.
from the taglines, it's very voice centric. The idea that being able to actively listen for patient reported symptoms, be empathetic, and then have the AI model be equally empathetic is the goal that we're trying to strive for. Because the theory or the thesis here is that there are, especially with sepsis, patients are best attuned to their bodies.
Hmm.
When a patient expresses that they're feeling off, or there is a headache that has persisted, or a fever, or a shortness of breath, they can't quite put their finger on what that is. And doctors, there's the saying, when you hear hoofbeats, think of horses, not zebras. We're trained to not necessarily all the time overthink the problem. We don't have the luxury of time or the cognitive capacity to do that with so many patients.
Sure.
So sepsis slips through those cracks. When the patient says, I'm feeling a certain way, and doctor says, okay, I've heard multiple patients today expressing the same symptoms. I have to go through my differential diagnosis, and you don't think it's as bad as you think.
Mm,
That also what's compounding that issue is the implicit bias that clinicians have as part of our human conditions, part of our
mhm.
training. So what Predicate is doing, we're building an intelligence layer between human language and human biology. We're turning patient voice and symptom data into real-time clinical insights because we believe that your voice is a vital sign.
Mm.
And just like heart rate and respiratory rate and temperature and SpO2 and all these other things, voice is that overlooked vital sign that is so critical. And in conditions like sepsis, where the symptoms present vague, especially in the beginning, it's obfuscated, that you need to have an analytics platform that is receptive to what the patient is telling you, because what they're telling you may be the key to unlocking the diagnosis.
And is this, um, from what you're explaining, it kind of sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's like it's not how they're saying it. So you're not looking for like intonation or anything like that, trying to detect like waveform patterns in the speech. It's really about what they're saying, what they're telling you, right? It's the content, not necessarily the signal, the noise that you're looking for, but it's what they're actually saying.
It's actually a little bit of both.
Is it
It's
okay?
so initially the platform is architected by looking at the semantics, understanding what the patient is telling us. We use entity detection from transcribed audio directly from patient interviews,
Hmm.
and we parse out keywords and phrases that could help with the prediction of the onset of sepsis. And then we started to, once we have uh, kind of created that NLP pipeline, we then started to include vocal biomarkers into the architecture. So now
Okay.
we're looking things at intonation and timbre and different things to be able to use that as diagnostic signals as well. And the science behind vocal biomarkers is really strong right now.
Hmm.
It's been shown to predict for things like Alzheimer's disease, just based on analysis of speech.
Wow.
So looking at the signatures within voice. So now we're leveraging that science to help to predict for conditions like sepsis.
Now, is this I may be going down a rabbit hole here. Um, because I have a take on AI kind of being this exoskeleton, like a perception exoskeleton for us, right? So, is it is it something that our brains are kind of subconsciously picking up on these intonations and, as you said, or timbre? Is that I've never heard that. Well, what does that mean? Timbre.
Amber, it's kind of a part of your the voice signature. It's how
Okay.
you say something, and because the science behind vocal biomarkers is about like how pleural folds, so your lungs and air passes through the vocal reports and all that, the subtle signs and the very minute that may be undetectable to the human ear, likely it is picked up because it has such unique characteristics. And when analyzed by a vocal biomarker platform, compared to like a good biomarker library, we say this is normal and
Hmm.
this is something is off based on that patient's profile, their
Gotcha.
characteristics, demographics, that kind of thing.
So
So yeah,
yeah. What I was going to say is like, is it something that like our ears are able to perceive that, or is it something this is beyond our even perception level? Like, is it like we're hearing it, our ears are actually picking up the signal, our brains are processing it in a subconscious way, or is it one of those like this is just beyond our perception anyway? And is that what it is?
I think there is some instinctual perception of it that we may say that sounds off,
Mm,
especially we are familiar with that particular person or that particular speech pattern. But the difference is that we still have that again, that implicit bias. And is it, did I hear that correctly? Do I interpret it as an illness,
hmm.
or is that something that I've heard so many times before? It seems normal,
Gotcha.
relative to conditions. So what an AI based platform would do is it removes that implicit bias
Mm,
and it says very objectively, this is a whole library of biomarkers that we know are considered normal threshold. And here is what we're hearing now. And to be able to contextualize that with other data signals. It's
mm,
never analyzed alone, the voice or the vital signs or anything else we're doing. It's all part of a multimodal analysis that one contextualizes the other.
hmm.
And I think that in thinking broadly about AI in healthcare, uh, it won't reach its potential until it understands human context and the
Right.
story behind the data. That's where AI can be really effective in healthcare.
Yeah, the thing I was just talking to this with somebody yesterday about this is like, we've as we're starting to employ AI, we were talking about imaging in medicine, so being able to look at an MRI. What the way all of these systems have been designed is to collect data in such a way from these devices and then to be able to present on an LCD screen, right? So because for a human being's perception, our little box of perception that we can do, right, of how we can perceive the world around us. But what my theory is that if we stop constraining ourselves to our perception boundaries, I don't need to tell present the data in a visual way, in the way that we would think that we need as human beings. I can present a whole plethora of data. Like the easiest way to describe would be like infrared, the signal. Like we can only
Mhm.
perceive certain ranges on that spectrum, but there's a whole lot of other stuff that's out there. And if we collect all of it and give that to the model, maybe that it could see things that we can't and perceive things that we can't. I think
Right.
if we have to snap out of our own little perception bubble and expand our horizons a little bit and feed these models more that we don't know, may not even know is there.
Exactly. And that's the responsible way to build AI models is to be able to collect from a diverse cohort of data points. And for us, since it's so nuanced, language and voice and dealing with patient-reported symptoms, we have to go directly to the source. We don't just take one data set in one country or region of the world and then be able to simulate to others. We prefer to take the time, put in the effort to go directly to the source.
Mm,
So collecting data from that particular area of the world. And statistically, when you look at sepsis, there are over 49 million cases of sepsis globally, responsible for 1 in 5 global deaths. If you take all the deaths from cancers globally and add them together, sepsis still claims more lives
wow.
on an annual basis. And 85% of sepsis incidents occur in the global south. So this is kind of the technology divide that we're seeing is that in the US, we know that there's a mandate to have to use electronic medical records.
Mhm.
In In the global south, where 85% of sepsis occurs, many of those countries do not have access to an EHR or EMR. They're using paper charting. So surveillance tools for sepsis today in the US that are abstracting data and depending on data coming from those EMRs, uh, they can't be used or be scaled to those environments that don't use EHRs. So it was important for us when we architected OpenDX that it be a lightweight solution to be able to take where sepsis occurs in those resource constrained settings.
And this is where kind of, I know in your bio, you're wanting to make healthcare more proactive and equitable. I would imagine that's where that equitable part's coming in, right?
Exactly right. Our mission is to be able to create a future where technologies like OpenDX are predictive but also accessible to improve the human condition. And that's the whole motivation behind this is that creating these technologies, if they don't improve the human condition for all humans on Earth, then we're missing something. We can't limit it just to developed countries.
This is fascinating stuff. Yeah, when I heard your pitch that day when we were at the conference together, I was just like, wow, this is blowing my mind kind of stuff. That's really cool. Now, sepsis, obviously, it's very important and it's it's a big problem. But is this technology just perfectly suited for sepsis only, or is this more generally applicable?
To be honest, using the platform, I'm more excited when we rule out sepsis than when we rule in. We are
Okay.
finding the patients that we may suspect of sepsis. Then it becomes the platform goes through it and it shows a low probability of risk for sepsis.
Mhm.
Then that's when the clinical logic kicks in and says, what else could it be?
Okay.
So, and also, just on the other side, it's when non-obvious patients come in and where you may think it's an acute virus or some kind of something that you've seen, if you're an ER physician, seen already 20 patients already that day, you're at the end of your shift, you're tired. It said, okay, I've seen this dehydration, acute virus. I've seen, abdominal pain of all these things. This is not sepsis. Then that's the non-obvious sepsis that OpenDX is able to detect. That's equally exciting. But to your question, it's intended to be. Let's start with sepsis, arguably
Mhm.
the hardest problem to
Sure.
solve in healthcare. And once we start to show strong evidence behind that, extend to adjacent conditions. On our strategic expansion roadmap, we're looking at ischemic heart disease, severe respiratory conditions, chronic conditions, maybe the next pandemic. But it's intended to be a really strong clinical decision support tool.
Okay. All right. Um, I'm sitting here trying to think of how would you go about training a model like this, and I can't help but think of you. Were you a Seinfeld fan? Remember there was an
Yeah,
episode of
yeah,
Seinfeld where Kramer and Mickey got themselves like a side job where they're like going to the medical students and they have to pretend to have diseases. Like Kramer
yeah,
comes in, he's like, "Well, I got gonorrhea," and they're all like, "Oh,
yeah,
that tracks." Um, Now, so
yeah.
I mean, do you have enough like actual data of real patients to help train these models, or do you need to like do this kind of mimicry thing? Is that a part of your training mechanism? The
No,
mimicry thing.
we absolutely have real world data. That's really
Okay.
important because part of it is um, we are building this what we call a bilingual data library. It is uniquely ours. These are time synchronized data points with patient vitals, voice, uh, labs and patient history where we have it,
Hmm.
but it's all as part of our time series analysis. So it's in our library. Um, we build that library from collecting data directly from patients in across the world. We have hundreds of patients already in that library, and we know what the diagnosis for that patient is. And then when we start to train and validate our model, not only do we continue to get more patients from around
Mm.
the world, but we also are training with our own data and not being dependent on external, data from other sources.
Yeah, I would imagine it'd be kind of hard because of the nature of what you're looking for, like true signals of how human beings. It'd be hard to make like synthetic data, like to fake it, to
Right.
make it actually work. Yeah. So for some other types of machine learning problems, think of like image recognition. If you have a picture of a cat, you can flip it horizontally, and reverse it, like mirror image of it, and that's still a cat, right? So it's easy to make synthetic data, those sort of things. But I can't. It's just there wouldn't be a good way to do that for what you're doing. I can't imagine. I mean, maybe you could speed it up a smidge and slow it down. I don't know if that would. I don't know.
Right. Well, we also think about like where the data would come from if we,
Mm,
so if we were to simulate data, we would have to get data from somewhere, either open source data sets or most surveillance systems are training their models on healthcare data from EHRs.
mhm.
But EHR data is notoriously fragmented. It's locked in silos. It's missing context, which is a big thing.
Yeah.
And in order to only way to truly solve for that is to go get real world data directly from the source, directly from the patient's mouth as they're reporting their symptoms at the time of presentation. That's the best way to do it.
So I know my experience, a lot of my experience has been in kind of financial services. And one of the things about AI in like a financial services world, anytime where you need to make a decision that impacts somebody's life, people are very leery of that right now, right? Is where the model, the machine is saying, give this person a loan or don't give this person a loan. They're like, wait a minute, we got to be able to explain the AI if we're going to do that. And you better be able to back up your decision. Um, I would assume that's a huge problem for you all too. It's not like you're probably not at the point where you want to say, yes, our system can say, start pumping this person full of antibiotics right now, stat. Like that. I would imagine the FDA would probably want a higher level of scrutiny. Like what does that look like in your field?
Right. So I think of like traditional UX in healthcare, which captures data but loses context.
Hmm.
And we design OpenDX to preserve both. An important part of the platform's architecture is the idea of clinician in the loop, human in the loop, in the
Hmm.
agentic loop, and then of course the agent in the human loop as well. On that interplay between the two, uh, I don't, not in my lifetime. I don't foresee a world where in healthcare AI is fully automated.
Hmm.
We're not
Right.
there yet. We're far
Right.
from it.
Right.
Although I have seen studies where they have done that simulated in pigs, and it's interesting. But I think you're right. I think the acceptance and the adoption for AI in healthcare is still very far away from that. But in order to earn the trust from human clinicians, we have to involve them in the
Hmm.
clinician decision making process. So I think OpenDX is a clinical decision support system. It it provides the probability of risk. It never makes a diagnosis.
Gotcha. Okay. So that final decision, that's still a human being
A
doing that.
human,
Now
absolutely.
they may get kind of a nudge to say, hey, you might want to look over at this information. I'm seeing something here that should be interesting or may be interesting to you. Okay, I see.
Right.
So you're saying like we're not at a big Hero 6 level yet where we have the big fluffy white dude that can do that can be kind of our personal doctor or whatever.
Which is funny because I love Baymax, and maybe in a not so distant future, we will have a Baymax. I actually thought of naming OpenEX Baymax
Is it
for
really?
because I was, my kids love watching it, and I saw like Baymax is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I love it. The
Yeah,
fist bump thing.
exactly.
Yeah. He was great. Now, so you are going through kind of the startup cycles and the idea of funding and everything. So I think the kind of perception, because it just seems like it in the market, is people are just throwing sick, crazy money at anything that has the letters A and I in it. It doesn't matter if it's just a word. If it has that in there, here's $1 billion. Like what has been your experience? Is that the case, or are you finding it to be less of it, like more of an uphill battle to get funding? What's been your experience?
Yeah, it's been really I've mentioned this before in a different setting, but I said uh, fundraising for me, my experience has been uh, like trying to grow facial hair for me. It's slow and with sometimes very sparse and undesirable effects. Um, but
That's a great analogy.
so uh, the overall experience has been that there still seems, and this is a learning for me as my maturity as a founder,
Hmm.
is that there are circles where in certain parts of the country that there's clearly like in the Valley or in Boston or in Austin, there's Nashville. In those markets, there's an ecosystem where VCs understand clearly connect with the value proposition. They have the risk tolerance
Mm.
to know that these products require a regulated pathway that may take 12 months or more to get to market. And the challenge that we're finding is that until you find that strategic lead investor that understands that funding coming in is great to help the company survive, but not necessarily thrive. Because in order for it to thrive, you have to have the investor that understands and can also help to advise on getting through the different milestones. Short of that, it's a challenge.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, I think that's like, just because of all the hype and everything around, everybody kind of thinks that it's just like, oh, I'm starting an AI company. Here you go. Here's some money, right? Like, I don't think that's really the case. You still got to work for it a
Right.
little bit these days. Okay, cool.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, AI is certainly it's everywhere, and defining that, the companies that use AI to improve X with their products and their solutions. Uh, Whereas Predicate is a company that not only uses AI to help build AI, but we are actually building the frontier. We're building the AI model from the ground up,
Yeah.
and that's important to note as well. So uh, we've had investors that invest in AI companies that are more horizontal, and but not someone that's in a deeply integrated into a vertical like healthcare vertical we are. That takes a special kind of investor.
Yeah. And are you finding, um, you know, this journey to be enjoyable? How has your experience been as a founder? And I mean, this isn't what you went to school for. I guess it's kind of hard to go to school for that, but has this been a pleasurable experience for you? Rewarding, challenge? Like, what has your experience been like?
So I've been a founder after the years of a consultant. We filed our first patent in November 2023. So
Uh,
we use that as kind of the the bar. 2 years in as a founder, and I've probably decreased my longevity by about 8 years in
mm-hmm.
those 2 years.
Okay.
It is stressful. There's a lot of things. There's the uncertainty from day to day. Um, the idea of going from fist pump to fetal position on a daily basis and then repeat
Love that.
again. That is something that nobody, despite talking to people, reading a ton of books, nobody really prepares you for that
Hmm.
until you experience it. And you have to have the support of the startup ecosystem, or else it just cannot work.
You guys have a pretty good and a vibrant startup ecosystem down there in North Carolina. Is it pretty strong?
We do, specifically in Wilmington. That's
Okay.
something that is really sustained us and other startup founders. Is we all have shared experiences. We're all
Mhm.
kind of leaning on each other.
And I was at a conference just yesterday, and one of the this was with a bunch of CIOs, and one of the folks, I don't remember the exact context, but the gist of it was, he's like, if a vendor is coming in with AI stuff and telling you they have it all figured out, they're lying. So and I think there is a lot of that going on in the market. How have you found that? Is that making your road harder, that because there may be a few of those, I've been calling them posers because I grew up around skaters, posers in the market that are kind of the snake oil salesman type folks out there, whereas you are trying to bring true product that really has some legs to it. Is it making your road difficult? Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, there's because of AI and where it is today and how it's weaved into our everyday lives. That's Therein lies part of the challenge when speaking with investors is
Mm.
how do we sort through that noise and say we're not. just another AI or whatever that means. We don't know what it means, and there's a lot of assumptions,
Mhm.
both from from the uh, from startups to investors to outside of that, all that those circles as well is um, that that we know the AI is here, it's here to stay, and how do we best leverage that to help benefit humanity? And for us to be able to quickly and clearly articulate our value proposition that we are using it to improve patient outcomes.
Mhm.
Um, that and then to quickly cut through all that noise and say it's just not a me too, it's not anything else, it's not a pygmy, it's something that is differentiated.
You've obviously got kids. The pick me thing.
Yeah.
I have two daughters in the house still. I have an older that's out of the house, but they do that whenever they're annoyed with each other. Quit being such a pick me. That's funny. All right. Okay, cool. So, man, this is it's continues to be fascinating, and every time I talk to you, I'm just like my gears keep on spinning in my head. So it's as always a great conversation. We are moving on to our second segment of the show. This is our ship it or skip it.
Ship or skip, everybody we gotta tell us if you ship or skip.
So for the first ship it or skip it topic, I guess kind of going along with the vibe of the startup or founder mentality, like what would you advise folks on yeah, go ahead and quit your job and go start a startup? Is that what you would say? Is that a ship it? Like yeah, go do this thing. What is your advice there?
The first thing I think of is definitely sleep on it. In fact, several nights of sleeping on it. Talk to other founders. Maybe even shadow a founder. I know it sounds weird, especially if you're more advanced in your career to think of shadowing them, but these are things that I wish I would have done before going in. There's no regrets there necessarily, but there was things that maybe giving me more context into going in and knowing fully be prepared. The another big thing is the really acknowledging the realities of the current funding landscape. So a lot of founders, me included, we had a part of funding that was set aside to start our businesses, and then we had a pathway to get additional funding outside the capital. Um, if you're a new founder going in, extend that. In fact, double it. That whatever you set aside, double it before thinking going in, because
Okay.
contingency funding you'll go right through it when you start a business. That's my advice.
Gotcha. One of the hot topics on the ship it or skip it has been, and I think you said you've listened to a few of the shows, but we have a lot of technical folks that are actually doing software development. But it'd be interesting to hear your take from a kind of a product owner type perspective, product manager type perspective for what you're trying to build. Vibe coding and using the AI assistants. Maybe you're not down in the weeds actually generating code with these agents day to day, but you are a consumer of that work product that comes out of that. How has your experience been as a product, trying to develop a product using those sort of technologies? Would you say, yeah, let's do that? Or I don't know, what's your perspective there? Is that a ship it or is it skip it?
Uh, I think it's a ship it, in my
Okay.
opinion. LLMs, where they've been, where they are, where they're heading, it's exciting for me. I think it's something that we shouldn't shy away from.
Mm-hmm.
We are using AI tools to help build AI, but it's not. It's also shifted kind of our kind of our recruiting for tech talent approach.
Mm-hmm.
So traditionally, look for the software engineers, full stacks, DevOps, ML ops, then our data scientists, AI, ML engineers. But now we're also looking at what experiences these engineers have with using LLMs to help enhance their productivity building it. So absolutely use the trusted LLMs, but then also be really good as an engineer, be really good at auditing those LLM outputs.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
if you're just kind of complacently just relying on, okay, LLM told me this, then you can make mistakes. So
Yeah,
that's
you
where I
have
feel
to
looking
be.
at it. Yeah, the training on seeing through, like almost like if I'm using the technical term properly, but debugging, the LLM.
Yeah, I think you got to kind of have that skeptical mindset and questioning everything when you're working with these LLMs. I've been on pretty consistent on the show. I am a ship it for AI assisted development, but I think honestly, the more and more I work with it, the more bullish I get. But I will say one of the themes that we've heard a lot of the kind of folks say, now maybe it's self-serving, I don't know, but they kind of share that you need that senior level person. That's where it really, that's the sweet spot of having kind of that someone who has that experience. Like you're saying, I know a bad architecture when I see it, or I know a security flaw when I see it. And that experiential knowledge, it needs to be there. And that of course brings up, if we don't have the juniors, how do we give them the experience to be able to be those seniors later? So that's a whole nother thing. But man, I am seeing, like, from my experience, again, I've been doing it almost 30 years as I'm using, AI assisted development tools. It blows me away how much more productive I can be. So I'm very bullish on it. I'm a ship it on. I'm not as you said, I'm not a ship it on the what I call YOLO to prod. Like no, don't just say, yeah, generate stuff and let's go. No, but I
Right.
think having experienced folks in the loop, and you're not going to have 10x developers. You're going to have 100x or 1000x developers.
Yeah. And I want to just a quick comment on just hiring best practices. This is a learning for me as well, is recruiting tech talent. And then that quote unquote, we don't consider it entry level. I consider it just it's experience naive or early experience folks. And then the mid levels and the seniors, and even the senior level engineers, not going too senior to where you have guys that think like, oh, back in my day when I had green bar reports from a dot matrix printer, that senior,
Right.
but actually know that the seniority in thought and perspective, to say that I have been fooled once, twice, too many times by bad AI outputs and bad engineering. Now I have a lot more detailed lens to look at these things, use more discretion, and more skeptical. Absolutely. I love it when our engineers question that, is this right? And do it over and over again. And the ability to problem solve. So, which, by the way, link onto your previous question, in addition to having extended contingency funding, that founder should absolutely be obsessed with solving that problem, not a solution looking for a problem, which we see a lot too with founders.
Yeah, absolutely.
But be obsessed with that problem and be able to solve it.
That's one of the things we say at Calibrity from that is absolutely part of our recruiting mantra, is like, we want to find those people that, and I'm stealing this from one of our clients, fall in love with the problem, not fall in love with your solution, as you said, right? That they're not in love with their solution, because you have to be malleable when you're kind of optimizing to that optimal solution to a problem. You have to be malleable. You might come up with a hypothesis and say, I think this is the right way. But as you start working with it, you have to be able to say, no, maybe we can pivot and might find a better pathway to get to that optimal solution. You have to be malleable, but you got to be, bulldogging on that. Like, just, sink your teeth into that problem and don't let go until you've got it, beat.
Absolutely.
All right. Awesome. As always, we will go to our final segment of the show, and this is our lightning round.
It's time for the lightning round. Rapid fire, don't slow down. Answer quick and make it count. In this game, there's no way out. It's time for the lightning round.
And I don't know if you've listened all the way to the end of our show before, but this is obviously the most important part of the show. This is what people tune in for. That's what I believe they tune in for. Very important. The hard hitting topics that everybody tunes in to hear, they want to know. I mean, okay, yeah, maybe you're a founder in AI, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's cool and all. That's pretty novel. It's an interesting thing, but what our folks really want to know is these topics. What makes you tick, right? And it's questions like, would you rather have invisibility or super strength?
So I would rather have super strength because, and this is because I'm naturally an introvert. I
Mm.
go to parties. I'm the guy that is holding the red solo cup in the corner, doesn't want to talk to anybody. Uh, but so invisibility, it seems like just being an introvert, you kind of have it. Um, but the ability to have, I would extend that. Not super strength is in physical strength, super strength of mind.
I like that. What was your last Halloween costume that you wore?
I remembered it well, and there's pictures of it that I will not ever. It would be in the archives deep. It was so at the time our youngest was 2, and I was actually younger. I had her in those Bjorns, so we were
Yeah.
in the front,
Mhm.
and it was one of those things where we went to our Halloween party. Neighbor has it every year, big bash kind of thing. So I put on like a werewolf mask, and like, what do I do with a baby in a werewolf mask? And so we had a Little Red Riding Hood little outfit for her. So I had a robe, a werewolf mask, and she was in front of me. And there's a picture of me like biting on the head like I was the big bad wolf from Little Red Riding Hood.
Well done. I like that one. I thought as soon as you said like my kid, I'm carrying my kid like in the front, I was thinking of like the alien thing. Like you put the
Yeah,
whatever was it, Ridley? Is that the name of the thing? Yeah, like a
yeah.
mask of that on her, like she's coming out of your stomach. That'd be hilarious.
That's not a bad idea.
That would be a
Yeah,
fun one.
The whole alien thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
experience.
yeah. Yeah. All right. So, what's the best age?
I would say 30,
Hmm.
and I would say 30 because eating in your 20s, your frontal lobe is still underdeveloped,
Uh-huh.
making really bad decisions.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I'll give a range, 30 to 35.
30, 35.
And
Okay.
35, 35. So you're already, have some experience in your career, likely, and you've made mistakes from having an underdeveloped prefrontal cortex. and uh and now you're kind of in use some life experience.
Mhm.
But you have still the energy of youth, which I think when you get to with family and getting really deep into just life in general, into your 40s, then it becomes like, okay, there's prioritization, especially for a founder. I think that's important,
Oh,
is
yeah.
because balancing all those different priorities in life, that you want to have that resilience, that youthful, but also informed by experience and maturity. I think 30 to 35 is a really good age to be a test for, what do I have the tolerance and the appetite for going forward in life.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a sick joke that by the time, at least for me, my experience has been, by the time I kind of get to the point where I figure out, like, oh, this is kind of how you should do things in this world. You're too old. You're too tired to do it the right way now, right? Like
Right.
yeah. If I knew all these things when I was 30, that would have been awesome. But I didn't. All right. Um, what's the maximum number of spritzes of perfume or cologne before it's too much?
Oh, anything beyond a spray in the air and walk through the cloud is too much.
Okay, I like that. It
I
kind
have,
of
and I have,
yeah.
3 boys, 2 girls, 3 boys, and so I can smell my boys. They're older, and I can smell them. I'm like, oh, that's my oldest leaving because I can smell them. And I've always told them, I said, trust me, if you can't smell it, people around you would definitely smell it.
Uh-huh.
So it's just, they got nose deaf.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And now is
Yeah.
this I know for a while, like all the boys, and I had all girls, so I don't really know. I know I've heard stories, people saying like, oh my gosh, my son with that Axe body spray. So is that what they're doing, or is it like cologne?
It's cologne.
Okay.
It's
I got
cologne. And then there's this thing now where I didn't know, one of my boys was bartering, with cologne at school. Like they buy these expensive colognes. It's like some kind of weird, like black market thing they're doing. And they just, the other kid had this cologne and you want this cologne, but so one of my boys wanted that cologne, so they borrowed for something else, one of their football cards for it. What is going on here? What world am I living in?
Now, have they ever run across, was it Sex Panther cologne? That's the one that's 60% of the time. It works every time from Anchorman. Is that, yeah. It's made with real bits of juicy panther or something. I don't know. Yeah.
That's right. If we get there, I will. Yeah, I'd be asking a lot more questions than how many spritzes have you had today?
Yeah.
It's like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, we need to move out of this house. It really stings the nostrils, as he said. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Let's get some more good stuff going here. When you're journaling, or if you journal, do you like to use paper or do you use some form of a digital copy for that?
I've transitioned from paper several, probably well over, dozens of paper notebooks. What I used to take now, about a year ago, I transitioned to Remarkable, so digital
Remarkable
notes. And the main reason is because not the fact that I don't like writing on paper, I still do, but the fact that I can organize my notes and do a search for things that were recorded and or written down. I can be like, what day, who did I talk to, and do a search on that.
Okay. L.A. or New York?
New York.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you enjoy garlic?
7.
All right.
I cook a lot with garlic. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good for you too. Keeps those vampires out of your hair,
That's right.
Good. Do you Instagram your food?
No, I don't.
Okay. That was the right answer, by the way. That's the one we were looking for. Can you touch your toes without bending your knees?
Used to, not now.
No.
That's the thing with that good age range in 30 and 35. Yeah. Definitely do it then. Can't do it now.
Yeah, I'm almost afraid to try now. I was in martial arts for many years, and I was, pretty flexible. You have to be to do that. So I was able to put my palms on the floor. I was very flexible. I don't know about that anymore. I don't know if I could do that. Do you like the smell of gasoline?
Not particularly. No.
No.
I can tolerate it, but no, I don't seek it out. I wouldn't get a cologne or that's gasoline inspired.
Eau de Shell. Yeah.
That's right.
That was weird that it's on here. I guess I never really realized it, but growing up and everything, I do like the smell. Is that one of those cilantro things where it's very polarizing? Some people hate it. Some people do. I do like the smell of gasoline. It's weird.
There's and I'm sure there's somebody's studied, the smell of the petroleum, that's there. For me though, the smell that I particularly like is, going into a Lowe's or a Home Depot. I love the lumber yard. I love the smell of fresh cut wood.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Makes you feel like a man,
Yeah.
Sawdust around, or as I call it, man glitter. Whenever I do a project, I call it man glitter. Makes me feel manly. When you have daughters, you have 3 daughters, you got to take those opportunities for that, anyway.
That's right.
All right. All right. Our last question, and this is for all the marbles. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at wiffle ball?
6.
6? That's pretty good, actually. On among all the people we've asked that question, I think you're right up there, right, on the percentiles.
And I only say that because I played a sport actually through college. I played tennis.
Okay.
So having a racket, you're having your striking a ball, moving object, and so that's why I put it with my 6. But yeah, it's the lightweightness of the ball of a wiffle ball and the bat. I think that was probably throwing me off. That's why I'm not higher, but yeah, I'd say around a 6.
All right. Yeah, still got that hand-eye coordination probably. You could probably make, even if they're doing them wicked spins, you can do some pretty crazy stuff with a wiffle ball.
Right.
Okay, so we have folks who do the tallying of these scores for these. We'll get back to you on how you did on the lightning round. Just kind of anecdotally speaking, I feel like you did okay. You know what I mean? I feel like it's not bad, not Thanks. A bad score. But we'll get back to you on that. It's a whole process that we go through. But no, just kidding. Well, this was a lot of fun. I knew that, when I first talked to you, I was like, man, I'd like to get him on the podcast. I think he'd be a really cool guy to talk to. And I think the audience would love to hear from you. So This has been really, really great. So thank you so much, Morris, for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you, James. No, this was fun, and it was a good topic. And thanks for highlighting these important issues that we're working on. And the lightning round was fun. That was you probably helped me do some little self discovery. I haven't thought about that. But yeah,
I'm gonna go smell some gasoline today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, so this has been a fantastic discussion about Predicate and everything. Tell us a little bit. Do you have anything coming up? Any takeaways or practical advice that you'd like to share, or are you giving any talks coming up? And how can we learn more about Predicate, like a website or something?
Yeah, so I have, and if you're going to be in Wilmington, North Carolina, I'm a panelist at the East Coast Healthcare Summit, and which is going to be on October 28th at the Ballas Hotel. Really interesting talks between policymakers and healthcare leaders and tech leaders in healthcare. And as far as what's going on with Predicate is that we recently announced that we are partners with the Mayo Clinic, or say with Mayo Clinic. There's no "the" in front of it, and and I just want to kind of re-emphasize what our mission and what we're doing is that we believe that tomorrow's diagnosis won't begin in hospitals; they'll begin in conversations. So we want to make the next wave of AI in healthcare more diagnostics ambient, and to move healthcare from episodic to continuous, and from reactive to anticipatory. And our efforts in building this is that we're going to be planning a launch of our first platform in Q1 of 2026. So look for that.
Awesome. Yeah, it's going to be really exciting to hear the next step in your all's journey. Yeah, this is going to be really cool.
If you want to find, just learn more about Predicate, please visit us at Predicate Labs.
Labs.ai. Okay, will do. All right. Well, if you'd like to get in touch with us at the / here, please drop us a line at the / at calibrity.com. See you next time. The / podcast is created by Calibrity. Our director is Dylan Courts, producer Ryan Wilson, with editing by Steve Baradelli. Marketing support comes from Taylor Blessing. I'm your host, James Carmen. Thanks for listening.